As someone who's been in the mapping community since the beginning of the Source era, I wanted to talk about why now is the best time to get involved for mapping for Counter-Strike. What FACEIT has to do with it, and how we've gotten to this point over the years. Sort of a retrospective on the last 10 or 15 years of mapping. Hashtag boomer mode. I released my first CSGO map, Museum, not long after the Maps Workshop was first introduced for CSGO. It sounds weird to talk about now, but once upon a time we didn't have a Maps Workshop. We downloaded zip and RAR files from Game Banana, some of which may or may not have contained README files with ASII images of anime waifus, the only purpose of which was to tell you to put the map in your maps folder. So, not exactly the best or most secure system for distributing files on the internet. The main community where people got together to talk about custom mapping was mapcore.org, a mapping forum which also had an IRC channel, which was basically just a primitive version of Discord, where people got together to chat, discuss maps, and get into the same pointless arguments they do today, but early 2000s style, on CRT monitors and using mice with trackballs. Mapcore is still around and is still, in my opinion, the best place to talk about custom maps in a serious way. But it's important to talk about the limitations that we ran into as custom mappers in the beginning of the CSGO era. Earlier, I touched on the workshop. Instead of releasing your map as a RAR or zip file, you'd upload it to the workshop, which was great because it was the first time you could securely distribute your level, and updates would be automatically downloaded as well, which was a game changer. Because of this, you can't talk about the history here without talking about the workshop. But the workshop was just that, a place to distribute your file. There was nowhere to really play your map other than custom community servers, which were typically 24 or 32 player slots. So you design a map that was like Dust 2 or Mirage, and then it would get dropped into a very casual setting at best, with 32 players running around like multiplying rabbits, filling every nook and cranny of your map. Or you could organize a pickup game with 10 of your friends. But since this was early in CSGO, the player base was smaller, and the main group of people organizing those types of games were competitive gamers on ESEA or CEVO. Nonetheless, Valve did an amazing job with the operations, which is a whole other topic, of including custom maps into the game officially, raising their profile, bringing attention to the entire custom mapping community, financially rewarding the mappers, creating that organic sense of community and celebration of custom mapping with the added legitimacy that official inclusion into the game brought to the maps. And as time went on, I became more involved in the organization of Mapcore itself. It was at that time that FACEIT approached me about organizing hubs for custom maps, where new community maps could be played in a 5 versus 5 setting. At the time, I thought it sounded like a pie-in-the-sky idea. We'd have to build an entire community on their platform, gather players from around our specific region in the world. I just didn't think it had much chance of success, but as I often am, I was completely wrong. The hubs did their job and brought a dedicated audience to custom maps that, to my surprise, had been there all along, waiting for the chance to take these maps seriously, to play them in a fun and friendly 5 versus 5 setting. FACEIT also supported the mapping community by sponsoring the prize money for multiple huge mapping contests, which have become a staple to the mapping community and serve to increase the incentives for mappers to invest time creating their levels in the first place. These events are a real focal point, which highlight the talent in Counter-Strike mapmaking. Some of my most fun memories recently of being in the mapping community are the days we actually announced the contest. I'd be the one with the @everyone command in Mapcore's Discord, just ready to press the button, and then you see people freaking out, It's just such a fun moment realizing that for the next 7 to 8 months, many of them would be following along or pursuing the goal of winning the contest. For me, that's super exciting. And then you look at the results. Maps like Biome and Anubis coming along, and then Anubis being incorporated into the map pool, validating all of the effort of organizing the contests and all the work and faith put into them by the contestants. So that brings us to today, where FACEIT hubs have all of a sudden become this crucial pillar to the mapping community, a place where mappers can play their maps or watch demos of other players playing their maps, hearing the community have a great time playing their maps, and of course breaking things. It's probably worth noting that without this ecosystem, we would regress back to where we were around a decade ago. Without the hubs, people making great maps would not have a platform to really test them with a wide community unless they had already built an audience of their own. FACEIT have provided a vital link between map makers and players that had not existed in Counter-Strike before. So FACEIT didn't really want me to say this part, or didn't think it was necessary for me to say this part, but I'm going to say it anyway, which is just that with FACEIT taking on that important role, I hope that Valve considers these relevant factors, and in rewarding event organizers that have become a crucial pillar to the community. Hopefully Valve recognize the avenues of feedback and advantages this has brought to the map makers and can deepen the collaboration moving forward. While the FACEIT hubs do require a lot of moderation and planning on both the Mapcore and FACEIT side, FACEIT have done an admirable job fulfilling the role that mappers need and the role that Valve needs to keep the mapmaking community thriving. As a result of all this infrastructure, this is definitely the best time to get involved in Counter-Strike mapping, and I hope you will join us all in playing community maps in the hubs, especially if you find tracking updates, giving feedback, and playing community maps really interesting.